actually on? Maybe I am on now. All right. Hey guys, sorry for some technical difficulties there. I think I'm back. I was struggling along here. I had somehow screwed something up, but we're back. And boy, I'm going to have to really move here to get through my stuff. All right, let's see. We've got some people out there. Hey, thanks for joining, folks, and thanks for sticking around. Right, we've got a bunch of folks out there. Freddie, Cooley, great to see you guys. Paul, thanks for hanging out. EOD, hey, thanks for joining the Sunday stream here. Good to see you guys. All right, 45, good to have you here. Oh boy, yeah. I've got a bunch of folks out here waiting on me. My apologies, gang. Sean, thanks for sending me that information on the dry ice stuff from our conversations on late shift. Appreciate that. All right. Frank, good to see you out there. All right. Well, hey guys, I am Roger. We are live, finally. I got through my gremlins and we're back on track. All right, so very good. So guys, what we're going to talk here about tonight, and we're going to go in rapid fashion because I got some stuff I want to cover, and now I'm behind the 8 ball. Hey Ken, good evening. Thanks for joining. What we're going to talk about here is the Yaesu G-5500 Rotator. Now, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I got into ham radio, and I'm just a tech, and I'm learning all I can learn about radio, and this whole idea, this whole notion of towers and rotators and this extravagant stuff just seems so far out there, right? It didn't seem obtainable to me, right? It was all just stuff I had no familiarity with. And, unless you've got an Elmer who can kind of guide you through that stuff, you have to figure it out on your own. And that can be a little intimidating when you're talking about some of these types of, things like rotators, right? So, what are these things? How do they work? Hey, they're kind of expensive, so I don't want to make a mistake with these things. EOD, hey, thanks for joining the Sprite Blitters, buddy. I appreciate that. Awesome. That is good stuff. So some of this stuff can really be just a little bit intimidating. So I want to try to maybe erase that for some of you guys out there. Hey, maybe you guys already know all about this stuff and you guys can teach me some stuff about it, but I'm good with that too. This is the rotator that I have selected to be used in my ground station, right? My satellite ground station. And, unfortunately my project got derailed here for a few months, and, things happen at home. You have life things that are going on. And then Texas happened, right? The Texas heat hit us, and nobody wants to be working outside in the Texas heat. But, things are starting to cool down a little bit now. And man, I was gung ho to get out this weekend and do some work and, make some good progress here on the ground station. Not to mention, right, one of the reasons I'm here tonight is because Jason is not going to be here on Sunday nights through the month of September in support of his 30 Days of Ham Radio mission that he's on, right? I think he figured out very early, if I'm going to try to put out a video every single day for 30 days, I'm not also going to be able to do everything I need to do to put on a good live stream for folks. So I'm going to hand that off to Frank. Frank's going to be working that 7 o'clock spot. I'm going to be working this 6 o'clock spot. So, but working satellites from the ground station is one of those items that we're going to talk about in Jason's series. So I have a few things I need to get buttoned up. And so I was all excited. I'm getting out there. I'm trying to move the project forward. And I had completely forgot about something. Something I knew, but when I took some time off for all those other things that I talked about before, I'd completely forgot about one of the issues here in deploying this rotator on the Carlson roof tower, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit, but first I want to show this rotator to you guys so you guys have an idea of what this is all about. Jimmy, thanks for joining. Bill, good to see you out there. All right, nice to see some extra folks joining the stream. I appreciate it. So I'm going to show you the parts and pieces that make up this rotator, because this rotator is kind of unique. It's actually 2 rotators. When you buy this, you're actually buying 2 rotators that can either work as a single unit. You can combine them, put them together, and they'll work as a single unit. Or you can deploy them in a detached type of installation, which is what I'm going to be doing. But first off, I want to show you guys some of these parts and pieces so you see what we're talking about. So here is one of those rotators. This is the Azimuth rotator. And this thing is cast aluminum, pretty chunky. It's a stout piece of gear. Not a whole lot to it from the outside. If we look at it here on the bottom, you can see it's got some Japanese on there. It says it's made in Japan. And it's got some pre-drilled holes there. You can probably see those threads to accommodate some bolts for mounting. And then if we look at the other side, very similar, right? Here's the top side. Thanks for telling us, making that very obvious. You can see some Japanese script there, right? And there's some other markings on there to help you with some installation things. And then, of course, you've got some holes there to do some installation as well. So that's the Azimuth portion of the ARRL rotator. And this is a discrete unit. This is something that can be implemented all by itself. It's got its own control cable, right? That's really the only thing you see on this, besides a big old chunk of aluminum. Okay. Now they also provide to you a mounting bracket, and this is used, right? This lines right up with some of those holes, right? And that is then used, you screw that thing down, and it comes with all the hardware you need. It's all galvanized hardware, pretty stout stuff. It looks good. But here's the other part of the system. This is the elevation rotator. And, it's a completely discrete and separate piece of kit. And here you see it's got its own control cable point as well. Now, you slide your boom through here, right? And then on either side of the rotator, you're going to have your 2 meter and your 70 centimeter Yagis. Okay. So, this is a stout piece of kit as well. It's cast aluminum and it's sealed. It's sealed and weatherproof. And this is where you put some clamps on it, and it clamps onto your mast, right? And then this is what turns, and that's how you change your elevation. Okay. So pretty neat kit. Now, one thing I think is interesting is the casting on this Azimuth elevator is clearly from Japan, right? It's built right into the casting. It's made in Japan. It's got some Japanese script in there. Paul could probably tell us what it says. I have no idea. I could Google translate it, I guess. My guess is it says, right, this says top side. My guess is this says top side. But I'm just guessing. Paul, I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay. But this other rotator, it doesn't have anything like that. It doesn't have any Japanese as part of the casting. However, it does say elevation rotator, and it says Kenpro Indco Ltd. Now, I don't know what the heck that is. But I'm curious. I mean, does Yaesu actually make this? I don't know. Is it a third party? Right? I mean, it's a different rotator, so I guess it could be. I guess it could be a different manufacturer. It could, they could outsource that piece. Here, let me see here. I'm just doing a quick search. Radio Museum says something about it. Looks like it maybe is a Tokyo manufacturer. I don't see any reference to Yaesu at all. Looks like they made some other things. Kenpro Thailand. I don't know. Let's see what this tells us here. Kenpro Industrial Co. Limited, Ltd. It's in Tokyo, Japan. Okay. So, looks like it's made in Japan, but it doesn't look like it's made by Yaesu. Interesting. They make some other stuff, certainly, but they also make this elevation rotator. Interesting. So, regardless, that's what we got. So, again, you take one rotator, you put a hefty bracket on it, screw it down. You take another rotator that also fits in that bracket, and this is what you end up with, right? I don't have these things screwed together. I just pieced it together, but you can see what you deal with here, right? So this is it. Okay, the bottom part, the top half of it will turn, right? So this thing will turn, and then the pipe going through the elevation one will turn, and that's how you get your elevation. So that's how this thing works. And I'd say these things probably weigh, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, it's about the same, it's about as heavy as a gallon of milk, so maybe 8 pounds. Right? And the same with this guy. This guy, similar. This guy might be just a little lighter. Maybe this is 7 pounds. I don't know. So that's what you get. Now, when you get your hands on one of these things, right? If you go and you get one brand new, now, you may see these at Hamfests. I've seen a few at Hamfests, but before I paid attention, right? You see all kinds of stuff at Hamfests, and a lot of times you don't even know what you're looking at, right? Unless maybe you're a ham for 30 years and you've seen it all, you've done it all. I'm not that guy, right? I'm still learning. But one of the things I always wondered when I'm looking at these things online or in a catalog is how big is that controller unit, right? This ships with a controller unit, okay? And so this is how big it is, okay? So there you can see I've got it in my hand. I can hold on to it with one hand, so it's not huge, right? You can see this is where you hook up those different rotator cables. Right, you've got one side for azimuth, one side for elevation, and then you've got an external control cable. That's important if you're looking at something like the CSN SAT box. That's where this guy will plug in. Okay, and then there's some adjustment screws on here as well. But just seeing one of these things and getting a sense for how big it is, I think is helpful, right? You got to figure out where you're going to put this thing in the shack. Right? Where are you gonna find room for this thing, and how big is it? So this again comes in the box with the two ARRL rotators. Okay. So you get all that jazz. You also get this. This is how you can secure the mast to the rotator, right? So this clamps, put your mast or the vertical mast in here, and you clamp it on there, and that's how that will hold on to it. If I can get it on the screen, it might be helpful, right? That's how that works. And again, this is cast aluminum. It's nice cast, painted, got a nice paint job. Looks like it's a heavy, decent paint job on it. So that comes as part of the kit. And then you also get all kinds of hardware, right? You get a couple bags of hardware. This is all pretty heavy duty stuff. It looks like it's all galvanized, hot dip galvanized. All the nuts, washers, spacers, everything's hot dip galvanized. You also get a couple of these, right? These clamps. This is used whenever you're clamping the horizontal mast through the elevation rotator. This, I don't know if you guys can see, this is pretty stout. This is pretty thick. These are actually really nice. There's these actually are cast. These are not kind of pressed. You'll see a lot of these. I know I buy some masts for things like I bought one recently to put my solar node, my Meshtastic solar node up, and these things are all kind of like stamped steel, bent. Not these things. These things are cast. These are heavy duty. So the hardware they provide is pretty good, right? You get some U-bolts. These are all decent hardware. Everything here is pretty decent. They also give you some housings and some cable glands to protect where your control cables plug into the rotators as well. So that's nice. Yeah, Sean, I know what you mean. It's this is an analog, kind of old school analog controller, right? Green Heron makes one that is a fully digital one, but I guess this is a good time to talk about what this thing costs, right? You're getting two rotators in the box. You're getting a control box. You're getting your hardware. They give you a little plug here to make your own control cable. So they give you practically everything you need, right? And this stuff is all fairly decent. And you get all of that for $750 roughly. Okay. Now that sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But again, you're getting 2 rotators, control box, and all those other parts and pieces. Now, it sounds like a lot of money, but if you compare that to some of the other options that are out there, right? There's a Canadian company. They make one, the Spid rotator. Uses a worm drive type technology. I think it's the Spid that uses a worm drive technology. Now, those are quite a bit more expensive. And when you buy those, you're not getting a control box. You have to buy a separate control box. And a lot of people buy that Green Heron control box that I mentioned, that all digital Green Heron box. I think that Green Heron control box is maybe $1,200 just by itself. So when you consider that you're getting those 2 rotators, a control box, for $750, you start to feel a little bit better about it. Now, when you also start to think about that, you might wonder, how in the world is Yaesu providing something like that for $750 if the competition is, $1,500 for your rotator, another $1,200 for your control box? How's that work? How's that all happen? Well, one of the downsides, and what you'll hear sometimes as a negative on these, is that the gears and such inside here are stamped, right? They're stamped steel gears, as opposed to something that's maybe like a machined gearing or something. And that's what you'll see in those other rotators that are much, much more expensive. So, I think because of cost and because of the fact that they give you pretty much everything you need to get started, this has really kind of become a standard, right? It's kind of become the ipso facto standard for ARRL rotators, right? I think it's a really cost effective, and again, right, that's relative, but when I'm comparing it to the other options, I think it's a cost effective solution, and it's an all-in-one box solution. Well, almost all-in-one box. Before I get to the punchline here, let me just see who else is out here. Bill, thanks for showing that up close. You bet. Hey guys, I'm not very good at this. When I start talking, I'll lose track, but I got to show off. Let's see. I got to show off my fancy little commenter that I made here last week. So yeah, it comes with almost everything you need. Let me see if there's anybody else out here that I missed. Arnie, nice to see you. Good to have you out here. Dave, nice to see you. Seed Studio Dave is here. Appreciate you joining the stream. So what's the punchline here? What am I talking about? What's missing? Well, like I mentioned earlier, I was excited to get this thing installed on my Carlson roof tower, right? Get some of these loose ends buttoned up on my project, and pulled everything out, had it on the tailgate, the pickup truck tailgate workbench, had all my tools out, had everything ready to go. Pull the thing out of the box, start pulling the pieces out, walking through the instructions. And like I said, there's 2 different ways you can install this. You can install this where it's all connected as a single device, or you can install it separated. Well, I want to install it separated, right? And how that works is, I don't think I've got that picture handy, but you guys saw the picture. You guys, I think, are fairly familiar with that roof tower. How that works is there's a shelf that's on the kind of center of that roof tower. And that's where this guy sets. It sets down there in the center. And then you take these parts and pieces, you mount these on top of this. That's what holds that vertical mast. And it goes up through the tower, up through the bearing that you put on top of the tower. And then on top of the tower is where you put your elevation rotator, right? That's where you put this thing. So these things are separated. This goes up on top. This is kind of lower down in the bottom. And that's the way these get installed in the roof tower. Now the problem is Yaesu does not give you the parts and pieces that you need to install this in a separated configuration. Okay. So what are they not ponying up? What do they not give you? So there are some studs that go into these 4 holes. You pull these out. Let me put that the right side up. That's why the sticker's there, right? But you put those studs in, and then you put clamps from those studs, U-bolts and clamps around that vertical mast. And then that is how this gets connected to the mast, right? So when the rotator turns, this will turn with it, right? Because it's connected to that vertical mast, right? But like I said, the problem being they don't provide this hardware. Now there's, 4 studs, a couple U-bolts, a couple of more of these guys, right? This is how this stuff kind of works, right? So that's what kind of clamps on and grabs your mast, right? Your mast is in here. You're tightening that down. That's biting into the mast. That's what holds that so that when it rotates, it doesn't move, doesn't shift. All that stuff's missing. And I knew that. Oh, I knew that because I had a heck of a challenge calling around to try to find out where to find this thing, where to buy this thing. Because at the time, those kits were no longer being sold. It's a separation kit, right? Kind of like when you buy your radio, your mobile radio, and you have to buy a separate separation kit, and they crush you for that little bracket and a piece of really nice and flexible, but simply Cat 5, right? To connect the head to the body of your radio. It drives all of us nuts, right? So that is not packed with the rotator when you buy it. You have to buy that separately. Now, here's the other crusher. Guess what they charge for that separation kit? I'm going to give you guys a second. I just want to see what you think that separation kit might cost, right? With 4 bolts. Frank distracted me there for a second. 4 bolts, some washers, some nuts, those nice little brackets, some U-brackets. What do you guys think all that stuff goes for? Arnie looks like he wins the Cupid doll. Isn't that what they used to give away way back when? Cupid dolls. $70 for 4 galvanized posts and a handful of nuts and washers and 2 U-bolts. $70. So anytime somebody wants to complain, and I'm not complaining, look, they probably they probably install 10 to 1. People probably install this 10 to 1 in a kind of conjoined fashion versus a separated fashion. So that's probably why they don't include those items. I get it. It's the same reason why ICOM doesn't include a mounting bracket in their mobile radios, right? A lot of people don't use those mounting brackets, but the people who do use them want them, and then, you know, they're salty when they got to pay for them, right? And I get it, right? For that reason, I'm not salty that I have to buy it, but daggone it, $70 for probably $5 worth of hardware. Now, the problem is you're going to have to drive all over town, and maybe you're going to find this stuff, maybe you're not, right? They're all metric stuff. Now, they do give you the full list of everything that's in it. So if you want to go on a scavenger hunt, you can do it. But, and you're absolutely right, Bill. Jim's heart just jumped. Hey, Jason, thanks for jumping in. But, you know, they do provide that full list of what's included in the kit. And there's, I don't know, 8, 10 items in there. Can't be more than $5, $6 worth of parts. But, right, they hit us with convenience. That's where they get you. So for $70, you can have that shipped to you. Now, here's the other thing. Most of the retailers don't stock these things. They're special order. And they're likely going to get drop shipped from Yaesu. So that's my story. All right, what time we got here? We got just about 5 minutes here. How long before I have things up and running? I'm hoping to have everything up and running here. Now, I've got to wait for the separation kit, but I'm hoping to have everything up and running here by the end of next week. That's the goal. Yeah, Jason, we were talking a little bit earlier about this mission you're on, your 30-day mission. And, you know, I can't get over the amount of work and commitment that is required to pull this off. And that's probably a good way to wrap things up here. Right. Here, let me just pull up the website. It is ARRL.org/30 days. And this is where you can contribute to Jason's efforts here, right? So he's doing this 30 days of ham radio in support of the Teachers Institute. And you can see he's off to a great start here. He's got $1,645 raised already. And all you got to do is just walk through this form. There's some nice options on here. You can dedicate your gift. You can also do a company match, right? A lot of companies will do a match for a registered nonprofit, and the ARRL is that type of organization. So if you've got the ability, reach on out and throw a few bucks toward Jason's efforts here. I know Jason has he's got some other activities. He's also tracking views and new users, right? New subscribers. And he's going to be donating based on, those numbers that come in from a subscriber and view standpoint. So if you can help by throwing a few bucks, throw a few bucks. If you can't do that right now, that's not a problem. Watch those videos, watch all 30 of those videos, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, and you can support the effort in that way. So, all right. Well, let's see. We've got just a few minutes left here. We've got 3 minutes. I don't want to be tardy. I want you all to go over and see Tank Radio right after this. Let me check the chat here again just real quick. Oh, I like that idea, Paul. That could be fun, right? Do a little build party or something. I like the idea of just having a little get together, a little party over here too. We're gonna have to work on that. That'd be a lot of fun. So, well, hey gang, Don, nice to have you come in here. Appreciate that. Welcome. We're just wrapping things up. I want to make sure everybody gets over to watch Tank Radio tonight. He's filling in for Jason, and we're going to be doing this for the month of September. So I'm going to be looking for an extra topic every Sunday night, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be doing the Friday night late shift. So for you that are unable to fall asleep, for you that are on the West Coast, for you that just can't get enough ham radio, make sure you tune in to the late shift. That is 9 o'clock Friday nights, and we go until basically the chat falls asleep. So this Friday we went to 1 a.m. 2 weeks ago we went to 2 a.m. So we got a good group and we have a lot of fun. So hope to see you guys there. And hey, it's 7 o'clock. Get yourselves on over to C Tank Radio, and thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next time. 7-3.